Of all the things I've seen on the battlefields of the frontier, the pilot is the true dominant force. Fast and agile. Graceful, yet devastating. Perceptive, resourceful, and relentless. A pilot sees the world differently. Sheer walls become flanking routes. Pilots fight differently. Experienced in deception and maneuver, even overwhelming odds shift in their favor. But what truly separates the pilot from all the grunts and machines of the battlefield is the bond between a pilot and a Titan. When linked to a Titan, a pilot can only be stopped by overwhelming force, or an equal. The frontier has been the only home I've ever known. For years, our lands have been destroyed by the IMC, forcefully taking our resources, polluting and destroying our planets, and killing us off if we try to resist. Despite recent victories at Demeter and beyond, we have a long way to go before the IMC is defeated. Now, I serve as a rifleman in the militia, fighting to free the frontier. I'm a long way from becoming a pilot. But when that day comes, I hope I can live up to the honor.
Titanfall 2 is a shooter that nobody would have expected. Probably not even EA after all. The game came out exactly between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. At this point, it should probably be a direct competitor to Call of Duty and get a few more players. It was clear from the beginning that this game would be an absolute financial flop. However, EA was apparently satisfied with it. Anyway, a multiplayer shooter that comes out in the fall when the two biggest and most popular shooters come out? It was therefore not surprising that we hardly heard anything about Titanfall 2 back then, and almost nothing today. Only thanks to Apex Legends could the game become known to one or the other. And Titanfall 2 absolutely didn't deserve this. Titanfall 2 is a damn good game through and through. One of the best that the shooter genre has had to offer in recent years. However, I only refer to the single player. This video is not about the multiplayer at all. When I played it on release, it blew me away. And now I just loved it on the second run. Titanfall 2 does almost everything right and better than its competitors. It does not contain that bog standard elements like those found in other large shooters that were also used for campaigns. In the past, these were more of a way for me to make fun of the incredibly bad. That means almost all Call of Duty and Battlefield parts. There are no boring stealth passages, no low car rides, the mechanics of which are so bad that they could have been deleted completely, no boring conversations and cutscenes, no slow motion, nothing of it. There are still a few cutscenes, but they are never long and reduced to the bare minimum, and you can play again very quickly. The conversations take place during playing, usually when the game becomes a first-person platformer, and by the way, they are also a lot of fun.
Long time no see, BT.
On the contrary, your helmet provided me with a live feed of your actions. You fought well out there, pilot.
You rarely speak to other people, but to your own Titan, and yes, you talk. So it's a dialogue and not a monologue. For a change, your own character gets a voice. And when you speak to your own Titan, you can always choose between two answers. This ensures that there is always at least a minimal interest in what the two are actually talking to each other. It can be so easy. In addition, the conversations are always entertaining. This also ensures that you get a little closer to your own Titan and are interested in the fate of the two. The character design is no longer as good as in story games, but there's still an interest. I've already said it.
My scans detect a functioning uplink targeting module, 428 meters northeast. My analysis indicates a throw is our only option here. I can throw you across the gap.
you sure about this?
There is a 68% chance of success.
What about the other 32%?
There is a 32% chance of an incomplete traversal, resulting in catastrophic trauma, massive internal bleeding, and multiple compound fractures. Dismemberment may also occur. There is also the possibility of electrocution and disintegration within the toxic fog below. Wind, 3 knots, heading 274. Range, 95 meters. Projectile mass, 89 kilograms. Trust me.
I think I'm going to need some new underpants.
Copy that. Noted for the next supply drop.
In general, the story isn't one of the strength, but definitely the better that the shooter genre has to offer, which is actually pretty sad. As I said, first-person platforming is always a lot of fun, be it in sections where you fight against the opponents so that you can jump from wall to wall and sew the opponents away. The gameplay is just fantastic. Or there are always sections where you jump over platforms, walls, moving surfaces. And that is almost always very simple and yet intelligent. So you run and jump through an oversized production plant relatively early, jump from one processing station to the next and can observe what is actually being produced. And that was just one example. The game is full of it, so I can guarantee that this shooter never gets boring. This is also due to the fact that the campaign only takes about 6 hours, but only consists of really good content, and it's also very varied. So there's a passage in which you travel through time. Well, the topic of time travel is absolutely not an issue in the game. It doesn't even care about the theoretical possibilities and difficulties like a paradox or something. It's just a gameplay element. And only for this one section. But what are you doing with it? Look for yourself.
Someone give me a location! We have to leave.
So also the different levels. I have rarely seen such a varied and moreover so beautiful and impressive game world. Each section is unique and sometimes just looks fantastic. Believe me, I would love to show so much more of the different moments and great scenes, but I don't want to spoil everything for you. And you should also have a reason to play the game. Even if I cut everything here, there are still very good reasons to play it yourself. But don't forget, the game is still called Titanfall. In many areas, your own Titan is always on your side, therefore you can choose whether you prefer to fight on foot or get into the Titan. I was always on foot whenever possible, because you have a different fighting power at your side and it was just more fun. I only used the Titan when there were other Titans, especially when one of the many boss fights took place. Battles in Titans don't necessarily make the game worse, only in the long sections would it have harmed the game, so I'm glad that the developers gave us the freedom.
One thing, pilot. Finishing me off another.
First core ready. First core activated. Enemy Titan down.
The boss fights, like the story, are unfortunately one of the weak points in the game. But they also provide variety, so every Titans fight differently and you have the opportunity to try out the different weapons for the Titan that you will find regularly, so the boss fights already have advantages. Only the fights themselves are never particularly strong. Above all, I could never take my opponent seriously. It always followed the same pattern. Boss comes out, says something like, hey, say your last words, you play the hero and that will kill you now, or you've gone a long way but it's over now, then you fight him for a few minutes and then it goes on. I have rarely seen such badly drawn antagonists, but that's only a small point because the boss fights never last long and are actually quite simple. The rest worked so well and I would recommend it to anyone when the game is reduced in sale. And for people who like to hear soundtracks, treat yourself to Titanfalls. Really well done.
Vanguard class Titan in sight. Engaging.